Hi, everyone. I'm Autistic Ange. This is a podcast for adults who recently found out they're autistic and are looking for other autistic people like them. Before I get into today's topic, I wanted to share a few podcasts I've come across hosted by autistic people, just in case there's anybody out there that is having a hard time finding more of these kinds of podcasts or wants to find them. The first one, I think I shared this before, but I honestly can't remember, so I'm just going to share it again in case I already did. But it's called Being Autistic. It's hosted by Shelly. She is a 50-year-old woman recently diagnosed with autism, and I really like her podcast. She's very down to earth. She shares quite a bit about herself. She shares like stuff that I haven't heard other autistic people share, which makes me feel pretty good about some things about myself. Well, not some things. I think everything about me is weird, but like, for example, her latest episode, she talked about special interests and being like obsessed with paper products like stationery and notebooks and stuff like that, and loose leaf paper. And I'd never heard anybody else have this special interest because like that's mine too. One of many that I have is fucking notebooks and all kinds of shit. But anyways, like she talks about stuff that like I haven't heard other people talk about. And she also provides like some background on what being autistic means, and also like obviously her lived experiences. The second podcast is called My Friend Autism, hosted by Orion Kelly. He is, I think he said he was into radio, like he's a radio host or something. But his podcast is really good, like very informative. Lots of good information. And the last one, I just came across this like a few days ago. It's called Josephine Moon, Autistic in Residence. And she's another person that was recently diagnosed as being autistic. And her podcast is great. Like, she's very personable. She shares quite a bit about herself. She's Australian. That's probably not really relevant, but I like Australian accents. They are the best. Australian people are so friendly. Like sometimes I just am like, if you compare Australians with Americans, no offense, but like us Americans look like trash people compared to Australians. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I just feel like, you know how sometimes like, you know, other cultures and stuff, you think that they've got their shit together, and then you look at what the fuck's going on with us and it's like, this is embarrassing. But anyways, that's like so irrelevant. I don't even know why I said that. But anyways, those are the podcasts I've come across. So I'll share whatever other resource I come across as I come across it. So today's topic is sameness. And I know I talked about this before. I think more in conjunction with like routine, but I wanted to go a little bit more in depth about sameness, but outside of routine. Because I think that there's people out there that might think that this is weird about themselves, or like wants an explanation for it. But the good news is this is a trait of autism, is wanting things to be the same in just about every aspect of life, because again, that means that there's no unpredictability, you know what to expect. So I'll just share some of the things that I like to be the same all the time. So the first one is seating, like where you sit. Like in college, I would always sit usually in the front, on the farthest, how do I say this? I would sit in the very front row off by the wall and on the side closest to the door so that I could leave class quickly when it ended. And I don't understand, like, I know that there's no assigned seating in college like there is in, like, high school and shit, but don't you think that, like, if you had seen, after, like, a week or two of seeing the same person in the same seat, like, wouldn't you not sit there? So, do ordinary people even, like, pay attention to this or not? Like, do they care if they sit in different seats all the time? Like, it didn't seem like it mattered very much to me. Like, when I noticed people, like, every day, they were just sitting in different spots, and I was like, how the fuck are they okay with this? Because, like, a seat is very important in college. Like, I want to be able to hear the professor. I want to be able to read any slides that are being shown so I can copy notes down. It looks like I'm really interested being in the front row and paying attention. And, there's really, well, I'm not in college anymore. This isn't really that important, but that's how it was when I was in college, was it had to be the same seat. I would get there early. Like, I'm early to everything, but when it comes to, like, being specific about seats, I would show up to these classes. I'd wait, like, outside, like, 20 minutes before the class was supposed to start, just so I could get in there and get to my seat before anybody else sat in it. Because if somebody else sits in my seat, I'm not confrontational. Oh, you guys. Cats got into a little scuffle. Be nice. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. I don't know what I was saying, but I think I was talking about, like, what happened when I saw somebody else in my seat, and I was not confrontational. I mean, like, I was, like, before college, but I started tapering off my confrontational personality, like, once I was getting older. So I'd be very pissed if somebody was sitting in the seat. I would be seething inside. I would be like, don't you see me fucking sitting there every day, like, in this exact spot? And it's been weeks or months or however long it's been. I would get pissed because I would personalize it. I'm like, you motherfucker, like, that's my seat. But anyways, movie theaters, I don't go to those anymore because of COVID. And but we used to go once in a while, and I liked the movie theaters that served food. So you could, like, eat some dinner and recline back in your seat and watch a movie. And I was very, very particular about sitting when it came to movie theaters. So in the ones where you could not go online and choose your seats, I would make sure that I'd be super early for the movie, me and my wife, so that I could get the seat that I wanted, which was usually, like, towards the back, in the middle. Well, not really in the middle. It's usually off to the side. I would sit by the wall. My wife would sit next to me, and there would be nobody to the other side of me because I was sitting by the wall. Or if there was no wall, I would just sit at the seat at the very end of the row with nobody on one side but my wife on the other, because I hate sitting next to people. It's just weird to sit next to people that you don't know at a movie theater. It's weird for me. Like, this person's right next to you. Like, you can touch their shoulder. Like, you can hear them laughing. You can see what it's just strange to me. I don't want all that, because then that's all I would be focused on instead of the movie and the delicious food I'm eating, because I would sit there and be like, oh my God, why did this person order this? It smells so bad. Why are they laughing so loudly? I can hear them chewing. Like, not a good situation. So, I liked when you could go online and, like, you could see what seating was available and you could pick your seats. That was, like, my favorite, because then I didn't have to deal with the stress of, like, where are we going to sit when we get there? And, like, waiting rooms, whether it be at the hospital or what have you. I pick the seat furthest away from the majority of people. So usually I would like go sit in the corner somewhere. I would not be sitting up front by the TV or with a bunch of people behind me, because I prefer it when I'm the one that's got my back to the wall and I can see everybody else. So yeah, that hasn't changed. I don't see that changing anytime soon. And not thank goodness, that's wrong to say, but like because of COVID, I don't have to really worry about strangers coming and sitting next to me. So that's good. What else? I think I talked about brands before. When it clums, holy fuck, man. Did you hear that? I said clums instead of comes. Anyways, don't know how to edit, so that's just going to stay in there. But brands, when it comes to clothing, I talked about this a little bit before. I'm very particular about brands. And not because it's like, oh, Adidas or Nike or like anything like that. I don't care if it's an off-the-wall brand. If I like the way something feels, I will continue buying from that brand, and pretty much that brand exclusively when it comes to whatever item of clothing that is. So I have 2 brands for t-shirts. I mean, like, very, very specific. I will not buy anything outside of that brand unless like the company closed or something. You know what I mean? Like, I am loyal once I find a brand. Like when I had my popsicle kick over the summer, oh, that went on a long time. I spent so much money on popsicles, and it was that brand called Outshine. And it was the grape ones, because those were fucking delicious. And you know how it gets when we find something we like, we just keep going for it. So yeah. What else is there? Oh, brands for anything, not just clothing. Brands for food, like drinks, like certain water and Sharpies. I've mentioned those before. Like, brands are very important to me, and I am a loyal customer to a good brand. I will buy from them every single time, to the exclusion of everybody else. So, and I know you guys know what I mean when it comes to brands. Like, you can't just go and buy some random t-shirt. Like, you don't know how that's going to feel. You don't know if it's going to be too tight, too loose. You know, like, it just saves you the hassle of having to, like, try clothes on and shit when you go to the fucking store. Just get the same shit all the time if it makes you feel comfortable. That's what I do. The way I like to shop has to be the same. So if I go by myself and I'm going to the grocery store, I will go up and down every aisle in order. Even if I'm only there for like, well, no, if I'm going there for like 2 things, I'm not going to go up and down every aisle, because that's just neurotic. But if I'm going there for like a full on grocery shop, it's up and down every aisle. I've got my list. And because, yeah, I'm going to need things in those aisles, but like, what if I see something that I forgot to put on my list, you know? So like, I want to see all the products as I'm going up and down these aisles, because like my memory sucks. Like, like half the time I forget some things to put on the list. So if I go up and down every aisle and I look at everything, like, it'll jog something in my mind when I see it. So, very specific on how I grocery shop. The way I eat has to be the same. So like opening wrappers, like a candy bar, I have to open it on the same side in the same way every single time. So like, I don't know how to explain this, but like if I open the wrapper to the right, well, I'm not going to explain this because I don't know how to fucking put it into words, but like, it has to be the same. I'm not going to open a container or a package or like a wrapper differently than I have before. It will always be opened the same way. Which sounds stupid saying that out loud, but it's very important. You know, like, I'll eat food in the same order. Like, if I'm eating like multiple things at once, like, I'll eat the things that are less desirable first, which are usually like the veggies and shit. And then I'll save the good stuff for last. But I'll eat in order, because what's worse than like eating all the good stuff and then like you're left with like, veggies and shit. And I'm not a big veggie person. But I know I need to eat them. So I'm the same way with that all the time. Coloring books. Coloring is like a special interest that I have. And once I find an author, like, I don't know if author is the right word, but like the people that like sell these coloring books, what else do I call them? They're authors, right? If I find one that I really like, I'll stick with that person. So I will buy from the same person because they've got one-sided pictures and they're perforated and it's not shitty ass fucking paper, like that cheap shit. So I guess that's brand. I guess that can fall into the category of branding, but so yeah, so I do that with coloring books. Things I order, like I love, like sensory wise, I love lighting. I love LED lights, all of that. So I will order the same exact LED lights from, no, that's branding too, isn't it? What the fuck? Well, I mean, I'm on Amazon ordering this stuff, but I guess that is like, that falls into the category of branding too. So maybe I'll just skip past that. Things I use on a regular basis obviously has to be the same. So I will buy the same exact notebooks. So like for my journals, I have a specific notebook I buy. For other things I use notebooks for, like I'm very specific with that. I buy the same pens. I will buy like the same kind of like baggie, like a Ziploc or something, not like that brand Ziploc, but like, I don't know, like Wegmans has their own brand of shit, just like most stores do. And I like a lot of like the Wegmans brand because it's just, quality shit, I guess. It's not crap. So when it comes to things I use, it's always got to be the same. Let's see. Oh, and not just grocery stores, but any store, I'll go into the same lines. So like, I always talk about going to get food, but I mean, I don't really leave to go a whole lot of other places. So I'll just use the grocery store again. So when I go to Wegmans and I've got my shit, I will go to the same line whenever possible, no matter how long that line is. So there's this one at Wegmans. It's the handicapped line. Like, it's the one that's got the wheelchair lit up on the light. I'll go to that aisle because it's the only one out of like the fifth, not aisle. What am I talking about? Waiting line. Waiting in line? Register? Going up to pay for your food. Oh my God. Again, like I really shouldn't record in the morning. But that one line is like double, how do I say this? You know how like you've got like on one side is the register and that shelf with all the gum, and then on the other side it's got like candy bars and stuff. Like sometimes I wonder when people are designing these things, like why would you make these like, I don't know what else to call them. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like they're not aisles, but why would you make them so small? So like you could barely get your fucking cart through. And it makes no sense to me because like I have to start like, I mean, you have to push it out of the cart. Do you know how hard it is to get stuff out of the cart when you're in front of it and you can't get to the end of it? Like, do you know what I mean? So that one line at Wegmans is double the size of the other ones. And I don't care how the fuck long it is. I'll wait in it because I need to be able to maneuver. I don't want to be stuck. I feel so claustrophobic in those small lanes or whatever they are. And sometimes like Wegmans will be busy, so you'll have like the employees monitoring the lines. So like when one register opens up, they'll go to like the last person in a long line and be like, this one's open. And that's happened to me a couple of times while I was standing in the line with the wheelchair, and I politely declined. I was like, no, thank you. And I've gotten some weird looks that I was just like, I prefer to just stay in this line. Like, I'm not even going to bother explaining to people, like, no, it just makes sense to me. I don't mind waiting. Like, at this point in my life, I don't have anything I need to hurry up for. So, and what happens when I cannot buy the same things or the same brands? What happens is I freak the fuck out. And that seems like a weird thing to freak out over. But like, so if a brand of clothing that I am loyal to goes belly up and I'm fucked and I have to go find some other brand or something, it freaks me out because that's a whole process. It's like trying things on, reading reviews, like, does the material feel comfortable against my skin? Is it scratchy? Like, how loose is it? How tight fitting is it? Like, it has to be very, very specific. So if I have to deviate and like go look for something else, I don't like it, because in my mind, how am I ever going to find something as good as the thing that I had that I can't have anymore? Like, if like that company, which they shouldn't like ever go out of business, because I know that I keep them in business. I buy from them all the time. But like, if they were to just not be a business anymore, what would I do for markers? Like, there's no other markers that are comparable to Sharpies, in my opinion, which is why Sharpies are pretty pricey. And they're just good quality. Like, what would I do? I would freak out. I don't know if I would keep coloring. Like, it would be a whole ordeal. And, you know, I'm like 20 something minutes into this, and just the stuff that I've been saying out loud sounds so strange, but like kind of not. Like, it's normal for me. I know a lot of this probably sounds normal to you guys, but like to an ordinary person, they just don't get it. And, you know, again, this is something else that like makes me feel like, oh man, like I'm pretty high maintenance, but my life just is a lot easier when I can buy the same products, you know, like have these things available, like, because like I said, like having to look for something else at some other place, like it's just too long of a process. Like, if, you know, it was a long enough process to get to finding the thing that I like, that I'm not going to start that over for something different unless I have to. Does that even make any sense? I'm at the point, oops, I hit something. I'm at the point in this podcast where I just need to end this because I don't know what else I'm talking about anymore. And I'm thinking like this didn't make any sense, but I hope it did. So yeah, the same game. That's what I'm into. I don't like things that are different in my life because that makes me feel unstable. Not in a crazy way, but you know what I mean. Okay, anyways, this was just me recording to an app on my phone, hoping people find me and listen and relate and have a similar experience to the one I had when I heard myself on somebody else's podcast for the first time. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.